Hello everyone, we are Group 1 and today we will be discussing the philosophical perspective of art. I am Andrea Castillo, together here with my group mates Agabre, Baltazar, Fabroa, Kwong, Mateo, Terana, and Pansakala. Before we formally start, here is a quick overview of the contents of our presentation, and hopefully you'll learn something useful by the end of this discussion. As we all know, art consists of many forms and serves as a powerful medium for human expression, embodying emotions, ideas, and cultural values. Throughout history, philosophers have explored the meaning, purpose, and value of art through a branch of philosophy known as aesthetics. It seeks to answer profound questions like what is art, why does it matter, or how should we interpret it? These questions have fascinated thinkers for centuries, giving rise to various theories that attempt to explain the nature, function, and value of art in human life. So, our topic covers 5 major philosophical perspectives on art, namely mimetic theory, expression theory, formalism, institutional theory, and pragmatic theory, with 3 examples of Filipino artists for each category, as well as the perspectives of 3 renowned philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, and Leo Tolstoy, on the nature and role of art. By blending global theories with local artistic contributions, this exploration aims to deepen our appreciation of art, not just as an aesthetic experience, but as a vital force that connects people, challenges norms, and inspires change. With that being said, let us now proceed to the 5 major philosophical perspectives of art.
Good morning. Today, I'm going to talk about mimetic theory. Theory of art as representation. So, what is mimetic theory? Mimetic theory is an ancient theory taking its name from the Greek word mimesis, which means imitation or reflection. The mimetic theory asserts that art's primary purpose is to hold a mirror up to reality, capturing either the physical world or human experiences in a way that mirrors life. The central premise is simple. The success of an artwork is directly tied to its fidelity to the original subject. A great piece of art is one that skillfully and accurately reproduces the appearance of nature or a significant event, while founders like Plato and Aristotle agreed that art is imitation. They disagreed on its value. Plato warned it as it was mere illusion, while Aristotle believed that it was a powerful tool for learning and understanding universal truths. Now here are the Filipino art as muses. The works of our national artists perfectly demonstrate how this theory applies to Filipino identity and history. We have the first Filipino artist named Fernando Amorsolo from 1892 to 1972. Imitation of nature. So Amorsolo is the master of naturalistic realism. His paintings, such as Dalagang Bukid, are highly valued because they are so brilliantly mirror the physical reality of our rural life. He didn't just paint landscape, he captured the sun-drenched light and the serene idealized beauty of the Filipino countryside, making his work a celebrated imitation of nature. Second, we have Juan Luna from 1857 to 1899. Represent of human experience. Juan Luna's masterpiece, is a Spolarium, is a grand example of mimesis applied to human action. The painting is a massive, meticulously detailed imitation of suffering and historical brutality. Dead gladiators being dragged from the Roman arena. So Luna used powerful realism to represent a tragic human experience, which served as a potent and meaningful metaphor for the oppression endured by the Filipino under colonial rule. Now, the third one is Vicente Manansala from 1910 to 1981, capturing cultural essence. Vicente Manansala moved the concept of representation into the urban modern space with his paintings such as jeepneys, while he utilized a semi-realistic style called transparent cubism. His goal was fundamentally mimetic, to accurately represent the cultural reality and visual dynamism of the Philippine city. His work captures the recognizable form and chaotic energy of the jeepney, reflecting the essence of Philippine urban culture. So, the mimetic theory shows us that whether art is used to capture the glow of the sun, the pain of history, or the chaos of the city, is powerless in its ability to reflect our world back to us.
Good day everyone, I am Kimberly Fabreua and I will be discussing about expression theory, art as an emotion. Two artists express their own feelings in their work, and other emotions we see in their artwork, the same as what they personally feel. Expression theory says yes, art is not just about imitation or beauty. It is about the artist's emotion. The artist's own feelings become the heart of the artwork. And this theory was introduced by Eugene Veron and later developed by thinkers like Colin Wood, Carret, Freud, Susanne Langer, and Reid. To understand expression theory better, let's look at some examples from Filipino artists. First is Man of Fire by Ang Kyo-Cook. Sa Panganpalangdaan, it truly means something. This painting shows a man surrounded by flames. It symbolizes pain, struggle, and passion. The distorted form and fiery colors express anger and suffering. Through this, Ang Kyo-Cook shows strength and resilience of the human spirit in the face of hardship. Next, Grenadian Arabesque by Jose Juya. Juya's work is abstract. It's full of movement and vibrant colors. Instead of showing clear figures, he uses brushstrokes to express his inner feelings, his joy, his energy, and his creativity. This reflects expression theory. Art as a way of showing his feelings words can't describe. Lastly, Genesis by Hernando R. Ocampo. This painting represents the beginning of life and creation. Through bold patterns and vibrant colors. Ocampo doesn't imitate nature. He expresses feelings of wonder and appreciation for life. The artwork becomes a visual form of emotion and imagination. Artists' feelings are embedded in the elements of the artwork. The shape, the color, the rhythm, and the composition. This feature makes us feel emotion, even without showing it directly. In short, expression theory tells us that art is emotion made visible, a way for artists to share what they truly feel inside through the power of form, color, and expression.
Hi, Tyrese Earl Esterani here. Now let's proceed to formalism. So what is formalism? Formalism is an aesthetic theory that evaluates art based on its formal qualities, such as line, shape, color, and composition, rather than its narrative content, emotional resonance, or cultural symbolism. This approach asserts that the value of an artwork lies in its visual and structural elements, which are perceived directly through the senses and intellect. Philosophers such as Clive Bell and Clement Greenberg were instrumental in articulating this perspective, arguing that the sense or the essence of art is found in its significant form, a term Bell used to describe the arrangement of lines and colors that evoke an aesthetic emotion. So, the central premises of formalism is that the beauty of art lies in its formal elements. So, here are the visual components such as balance, symmetry, rhythm, and spatial organization. Content or meaning is considered secondary to artistic composition, and in many cases, entirely irrelevant. This theory is particularly applicable to abstract and non-representational art, which deliberately avoids depicting, recognizing, or recognizable subjects or conveying explicit messages. Instead, such works invite viewers to engage with the artwork purely through its visual structure and designs. Now, in the Philippine context, several modern artists have embraced the formalist principles, producing works that prioritize form over content. So, the following examples illustrate how formalism has influenced Filipino visual arts. So the first one is Victor Vasarely. As a pioneer of optical art, his works is influential to Filipino artists like Nina Sagel, are a quintessential example of formalism because the entire aesthetic content is derived from the manipulation of formal elements rather than any external subject matter or narrative. His paintings rely on precise mathematical arrangements of geometric shapes, line, and contrasting colors to create an illusion of depth, movement, and vibration. So as you can see from the PPT, there are the paintings of Victor Vasarely and Nina Sagwell that really prioritize the movement or the illusion of vibration of the lines, shape, and contrasting colors. So the value and success of the art are found solely in the artist's skillful organization of line, shape, color relationships to produce a spectacular optical effect, making the content inseparable from the form. Next is Lee Aguinaldo, non-representational abstract. So, Lee Aguinaldo's abstract paintings exemplify formalism by strictly non-representational, meaning they intentionally forego depicting any recognizable real-world object to force the viewer focus onto the painting inherent structure. So the artistic merit of his work is centered on the arrangement and interplay of color fields, the texture of the paint application, and the overall abstract composition on the canvas. So, by eliminating subject matter, Aguinaldo ensures that the viewer engage only with the fundamental visual qualities such as the color, the form, and the balance, thereby adhering to the formalist tenet that an artwork's aesthetic value is determined by its visual structure alone. And lastly, Arturo Luz, Bagong Taon, and geometric works. So, Arturo Luz's minimalist and geometric works such as the Bagong Taon are strong examples of formalism because they prioritize balance, structure, and order over emotional or narrative content. Luz reduces subjects to their most basic geometric components, lines, and simple shapes, using a controlled palette. By stripping away the descriptive detail and sentiment, he directs all attention to the precision of the lines and the proportionality of the shapes, an elegant, harmonious arrangement of the visual components. So the success of the painting rests entirely on the clarity and aesthetic rigor of its formal designs, perfectly illustrating the formalist emphasis on the internal structure. So to sum up, formalism offers a distinct perspective through which to understand and evaluate art. By focusing on the formal properties of visual artworks, this theory encourages a deeper appreciation of artistic craftsmanship and compositional innovation. The works of Sagel, Aguinaldo, and Luz demonstrate how formalist principles have been effectively applied in the Philippine art scene, contributing to a broader understanding, abstraction, and aesthetic experience. Now, let's move on to the next perspective.
So, have you ever wondered who decides what counts as art? Is it the artist who creates it, the people who admire it, or the institutions that display and promote it? Have you also ever wondered how simple object, whether designed or not, is also considered as art? For example, you can observe once you go into an art museums that some objects that you can wonder to yourself, how is this considered as an art when it doesn't usually show beauty on its physical aspects? Well, there's actually a theory on art that answers these questions, and that is the institutional theory of art. So, what is the institutional theory of art? So, institutional theory of art states that an object becomes a work of art when it is according to the qualities of the artist, critics, and curators which belongs to the art world. For an object to be considered an art, it must be an artifact that has been given the status of candidate of appreciation by an individual or group within this institution. So, the institutional theory of art was actually first introduced in the 1970s by George Dickey. It became a means of response to the challenges about defining art during the time where traditional standards such as beauty, skills, or imitation of nature were being questioned. Instead of looking for an art's definition through its natural qualities such as form, beauty, or emotional power, he states that an artifact can be called an art if it has been given the status to be called candidate of appreciation by the art world. So, the art world here refers not only to artists, but also to critics, curators, galleries, museums, and audiences who collectively participate in the recognition and legitimization of works as art. So, now here are some of the examples of artworks that shows institutional theory. So, the first one is the Sabel series by Benedicto Cabrera, which is also known as BenCab. Sabel is inspired by a real scavenger wrapped in discarded clothes. Sabel could have remained an ordinary image of poverty, but through Ben Camp's artistic vision, she was transformed into a powerful symbol of resilience and the human condition. When his works were exhibited, studied, and celebrated, they gained cultural significance, showing that the value of art is not only in the subject or medium, but also in how institutions in society validate and elevate it. So, the next one is Pista sa Nayon by Manny Baldemar. So, Pista sa Nayon is a piece that depicts colorful Filipino rural celebrations, people dancing, children playing, and the community gathered in joy. On its own, a fiesta is just an ordinary cultural event, but through Baldemore's artistic style, it becomes a symbolic representation of Filipino identity, tradition, and unity. Its recognition by museums, critics, and even international institutions like UNICEF, which has reproduced Baldemore's works for greeting cards, elevates it into a status of art in the institutional sense. And lastly is A Perfumed Nightmare by Kidlat Tahimik. So it was actually a low-budget personal film about a Filipino jeepney driver's fascination with Western progress, but its experimental style and unique storytelling caught the attention of International Film Festival, eventually winning the International Critics Prize at the Berlin Film Festival. This recognition elevated it from being just an unconventional local film to an important work of world cinema, showing that art is not defined solely by its content or form, but also by how the art world acknowledges and gives its cultural significance.
Pragmatic theory. This theory, introduced by John Dewey, emphasizes art's role in shaping human experience. Art is not only about beauty, but it is a living process that inspires, educates, and connects people. In the Philippines, many artists have embedded this idea by creating works that reflect cultural pride and social awareness. So John Dewey believed that art is both an experience and a function. It reflects the artist's emotions and the audience's reactions. Art has the power to educate, inspire, and preserve culture. Art is not separate from real life. It is a living expression of how people think, feel, and interact. So these are the three artists. First is Carlos Butong Francisco. He is a national artist for visual art, is known for murals that show the story of the Filipino people. His Filipino struggles through history reflects courage and identity, proving that art can teach and inspire. So Butong Francisco shows that art is more than a painting. His works let us see and feel our history, which connects to Dewey's idea that art should have purpose and meaning for people. Eduardo Castrillo. He is a sculptor known for the People Power Monument along EDSA. His work honors freedom and unity, showing that art can express both emotion and purpose. Castrillo's monument isn't just a sculpture, but it reminds people of how Filipinos fought for freedom. That's why it fits John Dewey's idea that art should have emotional and social purpose. Lastly is Juan Nakpil. He is a national artist for architecture. He redesigned the Quiapo Church with a mix of faith and modern design, proving that art can be functional and meaningful. Nakpil proved that even architecture can express art. He designed buildings that serve people's needs but also reflect our culture and beliefs.
So, Plato, art as the mimesis. The term mimesis, which means copy or imitation, was the term used by Plato in his work entitled The Republic in describing art. To him, art is an imitation of an imitation because he viewed the world as just copy of what is truly meant. So Plato's idea of art is called mimesis, which means imitation. So murag kopya. So he believe that art is just an imitation of reality, so murag ikopya ra siya sa tinuod. And reality itself is already an imitation of the perfect forms or ideals that exist beyond our world. So for Plato, art as an imitation of an imitation, meaning it's twice removed from the truth. So murag sa tinuod pa lang murag gikuha na yang value og kaduha kapila, so medyo na kanang murag dili na kay siya tinuod ba. So he thought that artists only copy appearances, like how things look, instead of showing their true nature or essence. He also saw art as something that could be psychologically and morally dangerous. So the aspects is distance from reality, copy of a copy. Art imitates material objects which themselves are a perfect reflection of the art of the forms. So an artist's copy is twice removed from the perfect reality. So second, art imitates appearances, not essence. An artist shows how things look, the outward appearance, but does not show their true nature or why they are what they are. Number 3, psychological or moral danger. Imitative art has emotional appeal. It can mislead people, stir up impulses or passions, and weaken rational control in the soul. So number 4, censorship or exclusion from the ideal cities. Because of its misleading and corrupting power, Plato argues that many forms of mimetic poetry and art should be restricted or banned in a well-ordered society. So historical context. Plato's concept of art as a mimesis or imitation emerged during a period of intense cultural, artistic, and political development in ancient Greece, particularly in Athens during the 5th and 14th centuries BCE. This was a time when Greek artists were deeply invested in replicating the natural world through sculpture, painting, and especially dramatic theater. So sculptures like Phidias and Polycletus aimed to capture the ideal human form with precision and symmetry, while dramatists such as Sophocles and Euripides produced emotionally powerful tragedies that move large public audience. So Aristotle, who was actually student din siya ni Plato, pero lahi sila different view nila, different view. Art as a representation. So Aristotle sees art, especially tragic drama, as representation, also mimesis, of human action, not merely imitation of appearances. He holds that the representation should be of an action that is serious, complete, and of a certain magnitude. For Aristotle, art has two purposes. So first, it allows for the experience of pleasure. Second, it teaches about life and has philosophy in revealing truth. So nana siya upat ka aspects. So the first one is universals and particulars. So art doesn't need to represent a particular person or event. It can present what might happen under certain moral circumstances. So second, emotional impact. So especially in tragedy, art arouses emotions such as pity and fear, and then purges or cleanses these emotions, helping the audience understand and feel more deeply. So the third one is moral and intellectual value. Art is not just for entertainment. It has value become through representation. We can learn about virtues, defects, moral choices, and human nature. So fourth is pleasure and representation. So we enjoy art because we like imitation and because we like seeing recognizable human actions. We also like form, rhythm, beauty. So for Aristotle, art is a representation, not imitation, while Plato saw art as something deceptive. So Aristotle believed that art helps us understand life and human action. So he said nga kanang ang art, especially tragedy, represents actions that are serious and complete, and that it has two main purposes. So first, to give us pleasure. So kanang indutan na ba, ingyan na ba. And second, help us learn truths about the world. So kaduha kay kanang Tuluan dan niya kung unsa kanang pagkibaw ba sa kanang mga unsay makita unsay perspective nimo sa kalibutan. So Aristotle emphasized that art has both emotional and intellectual value. In tragedies, for example, people experience emotions like pity and fear, and through that they can reclaim emotionally. So this process is called catharsis. So he also said that we enjoy art because we like to see recognizable actions, rhythm, and beauty. So historical context, Aristotle lived in the 4th century BCE, so 284 to 322 BCE before Christ. In ancient Greece, especially in Athens, where there was rich intellectual, artistic, and political life, Aristotle was influenced by Plato, especially Plato's critique of art in the Republic. But he departs from Plato by assigning art a positive rule, rather than rejecting mimesis because it's an imitation and thus removed from truth. Aristotle accepts it and sees value in imitation for learning and moral development. So art and representation were not just artistic concerns but part of moral philosophy of understanding human nature, society, and how people learn. So Aristotle's politics, politics all talk about how arts engage emotions, influence character, society. So historically, kanang si Aristotle Aristotle lived in the 4th century BCE in ancient Greece, so the period sa ancient Greece, a time rich in philosophy and art. He was influenced by Plato but gave art more positive meaning. So na-influensyahan siya ni Plato but iyang pero iyang perspective sa art kay mas iyang gihimo og positive. So for Aristotle, imitation was not bad. It was actually a way to learn, express truth, and understand human nature. So para kay Aristotle, kay ang pagkopya kay dili daw siya bati dili siya bati. Pero mao na ang kanang rason nga kanang murag makabangta nga makasabot makasulti sa tinuod o kanang maka-express ta sa tinuod and understand ay kanang makasabot sa human nature.
So, moving on to Leo Tolstoy's philosophical perspective on art, which is art as a communication of emotion. Leo Tolstoy, in his essay What is Art?, defines art fundamentally as the intentional transmission of feeling from one person, the artist, to others, the audience. Art for Tolstoy is not about decoration, technique alone, or beauty for its own sake, but about emotional sincerity and communication, making people share feelings, thereby uniting them. There are 4 key aspects for this perspective of art. We have here first, sincerity. The artist must feel the emotion sincerely. He must not simply imitate feelings or express what he thinks that will please an audience. The second one is clarity. The feeling must be expressed clearly. The external signs must adequately mirror the emotion so that the audience can perceive it without unnecessary obstruction. The next one is individuality. The feeling should be genuine, coming from the depths of the artist's nature. More individual or emotional particularity often makes the emotion more vivid and thus more infectious, because it is not generic or merely conventional. However, this individuality still needs to be universal in effect, meaning others can share it. And the fourth one is universality or accessibility. For art to be good in Tolstoy's sense, it must transmit feelings that are accessible to everyone, not just a specific class, nationality, or group. If a work of art communicates feelings that only an elite or highly educated audience can appreciate, it fails one of its criteria. The historical context of Leo Tolstoy's perspective on art started by the late 19th century, where Tolstoy had undergone a strong spiritual awakening. He had become highly critical of many aspects of modern culture: wealth, status, religion as ritual rather than living faith. His later works focus heavily on morality, simple living, and religious ethics. What is Art, written in 1897, is deeply shaped by this perspective. He sees art not just as a matter of aesthetics, but as something with moral and spiritual significance. In Tolstoy's time, there were flourishing aesthetic theories, largely European, that celebrated beauty, form, artistic originality, and sometimes formalism. There was also increasing professionalism in art. Art schools, academies, art criticism, salons, and a growing elite class that patronized or judged art. Tolstoy saw many such developments, leading to what he considered counterfeit art, which refers to art that is beautiful or technically brilliant but lacking in sincerity or moral, spiritual substance.
So let's move on to conclusion. What is the true nature, purpose, and value of art? Art is more than just decoration. It's a profound human activity. We're exploring aesthetics, the branch of philosophy that studies art's meaning and value. The answer: what is true nature, purpose, and value of art in our lives? Let's move forward to our third slide, which is the Plato versus Aristotle, the meaning of imitation. Plato, art is deceptive. Plato's art is deceptive. It's a copy of a copy, leading us away from reason and truth by stripping up raw, irrational emotions. Art corrupts the soul, and Aristotle art is a revealing. Art is a valuable representation because it shows us universal truths about human actions and moral choices, which is deeper than historical fact. Art improves understanding and character. The debate begins with the Greeks. Plato saw art as a dangerous because it's imitates imperfect things. It's a copy of copy and appeals to emotion, not reason. But Aristotle disagreed. He argued that art's representation is valuable because it shows us universal truths. What might happen under certain circumstances, which help us understand human nature and improve our characters. Let's move forward to the second slide, the 5 core meaning of art. First is the mimetic theory. This theory is mirror of reality. Its value is its ability to convincingly represent and imitate the physical world. Next is the expression theory, which is the projection of the soul. Its value is in transmitting the artist's sincere, deep-seated emotion and inner life. Next is the formalism, pure structure. It's a pure structure in art. Its value is intrinsic, found only in the balance and arrangement of its visual elements, line, color, and shape. Next is the institutional theory that art is a social agreement. Its value is conferred by the art world, collective body of critics and institutions who validated it. And next is the pragmatic theory. It's a transformative experience, value its function to educate, inspire, and shape human growth and community awareness. These 5 theories offer distinct definitions. Art can be mirror of reality, an emotional project of the soul is expression or purely structure and visual design. Next is the four others. It's defined by social acceptance, institutional, or by its function as a transformative experience. Let's move forward to our third slide, which is the Plato versus Aristotle, the meaning of imitation. Plato art is deceptive. Plato's art is deceptive. It's a copy of a copy, leading us away from reason and truth by stripping up raw, irrational emotions. Art corrupts the soul, and Aristotle art is a revealing. Art is a valuable representation because it shows us universal truths about human actions and moral choices, which is deeper than historical fact. Art improves understanding and character. The debate begins with the Greeks. Plato saw art as a dangerous because it's imitated imperfect things. It's a copy of copy and appeals to emotion, not reason. But Aristotle disagreed. He argued that art's representation is valuable because it shows us universal truths. What might happen under certain circumstances, which help us understand human nature and improve our characters. For the fourth slide in our conclusion, it is the meaning of connection. Leo Tolstoy is an intentional medium of unite people through a sincere transmission of feeling. His key value is the emotion must be felt sincerely by the artist. As artists, the highest art must transmit moral, elevating feelings like brotherhood and compassion that promote union among people, among us. Tolstoy view is moral and Tolstoy view is moral and spiritual. He defined art as intentional transmission of feeling from the artist to the audience, connecting people to across time and place. The value of art lastly entire of the artist's sincerity and whether it transmits elevating feelings that promote universal union. He dismissed art was merely beautiful, but lacked moral substance as counterfeit art. And for the last slide in conclusion, art is not a single thing, but a desire of multi-dimensional relationship, a reflection of emotion, a structure, a social agreement, and a function. And the ultimate value of art is found is in its power to connect people, challenge norms, and inspire change. Meaning is we find that art cannot be defined by one theory. It's a multi-dimensional phenomenon. The value of a Filipino masterpiece like Amorsala's realism or Benskam symbolism depends on the philosophical lens we choose. Our explanation of this perspective depends our appreciation. Art not just an aesthetic experience, but as a dynamic and powerful form of human life. That's it. Thank you.